All right, well, thanks for having me here. This is the coolest thing ever. I wanted to thank Terry for doing this. She hasn't heard my material, so it's pretty brave. I haven't heard it either, so we can all enjoy this together. But yeah, the Lyric Center is a very cool thing. I'm really glad to be a part of this. I'm really proud of it. It's really cool. And I just thank you very much for having me here. It's very neat. But anyways, trying to come up with topics and stuff. You know, what are you going to talk about? I've never really done this. I've been in a couple coffee shops reading things here and there, but I decided I'm going to do a little bit of stand-up first. Then I'm going to try reading a little story. But I'm trying to come up with a topic. What are we going to talk to people about? What can I say that's, get a laugh or two? And one thing I've always heard other people say, I'm sure you've heard it too, that two things you never bring up are religion and politics. So I'm going to start with religion. I was a multimedia student, and old habits die hard. I had this. It was a Catholic priest. It was an ex-Catholic priest that actually was teaching how to do this Adobe Flash stuff, and he had a hard time breaking old habits. And every time he was reading out of the book, if he was talking to us about stuff, he'd be like, "You use the subselection tool to reshape a segment of an object." That's all I got on religion. But as for politics, I didn't grow up in a very political family, so I'm deciding, I'm going to write about this, but my family really wasn't political. And I don't understand politics, and I have a very hard time with them. And it's just something that if you're not raised learning, it's really hard to pick up on when you're, later in life. And to me, it's kind of like it's like a soft science, kind of like astrology or Bigfoot. And Bigfoot actually is a little side note in Microsoft Word. Bigfoot has to be a proper noun, or you're going to get your little line underneath there. It's going through, and I'm like, what the heck? But anyways, so we grew up not very political, and I just don't understand it, and I try and pay attention to it, and being like a soft science, like I said, excuse me, I just see it as there's some politicians out there that really want to go somewhere, and you want to do something, and you want to help people. For the most part, though, I think a lot of them just want to have that position and the strength and the power, and they think that's fun and exciting. And I don't know, it's almost become like a reality show now. It's you got the media coverage is so constant that it's almost like Big Brother, something like that. It's just constantly, every little thing this person is doing, and I think it's overboard, and it's just nuts. I mean, they have a lot of money at stake, they got their reputation, and they're just going to say whatever they can, but, we've all heard there's times when microphones are on and people don't know it, and things are said. But, you didn't have this stuff, back in, the 1800s or 1600s or whatever. And Lincoln, I mean, who knows what we don't know about Lincoln, the things he might have said or whatever. And if it weren't for movies, nowadays, I mean, there's a movie that just came out about Lincoln a couple of years ago. He was a vampire killer. I was not aware of that, and I think had there been more media coverage of him, we would know more things about him and things like that. So it was pretty amazing to learn about. So I don't know. I think there's just too much coverage, and everything can be too. It just gets so crazy. Like they know everything that person says, every little deal. It just goes on and on and on, and like they could say something like, "I like cars," I like Fords or whatever, and then they end up buying a Chevy, and then the next thing you know, it's just going crazy. Like, oh my God, Bill Clinton bought a Chevy. He thought it was like Mustangs, and so it just gets nuts. And you have to watch everything you say. It's not even about people anymore, or just trying to help people. It's this media circus. But Yeah, and then you got things like political analysts that come out and they're doing this stuff and they're just really getting detailed about every little thing, and they have 24-hour channels, you know, for this stuff, and it's crazy. And I remember being in high school, not sure what I wanted to do for a living, and the guidance counselor, you know, the last thing he would have ever said would have been political analyst. You know, I didn't know there was such a thing, or you could make money doing these kind of things. And it was very, you know, I'm just like, how did these people get into this line of work like this when I had never heard of it before, you know? And speaking of guidance counselors, I actually worked at Sherwin-Williams Paints for a while, and all of a sudden I saw my guidance counselor come in, and it's been, you know, 20, 30 years since I've seen him. I'm like, oh my God, that's him. And I'm like, hey, Mr. Bull, you're my old guidance counselor. He's like, yeah. He goes, he's looking at me, he doesn't quite remember, you know, it's probably been about 100,000 kids since I've been there, but he's just like, he's like, oh yeah, yeah. I said, you know, you told me I'd always be really good at mixing paint. Did I? No, you didn't. But yeah, it was fun, Mr. Bull. He was a good guy. But yeah, but back to the political analyst things. You get people like, it's always so extreme. You know, people in the middle that are just kind of calm and collected. They're not yelling, so nobody hears them. So you either hear the really strong right wing or the really strong left wing. And oh, that's my left. Really strong left wing, really strong right wing. But in one case in particular I could think of was I worked with a guy that he listened to Rush Limbaugh all the time, and he would go out at lunch and listen to him in his car. And he would come back and he would just like spew all this information that he had at us when he'd come back. And that's where I came up with the term of Russian limbulimia. He would just go out and pick this stuff up, and he'd be so excited about it, he'd just be yelling at you about it. I'm like, no, give me a break. But, and I just was not, like I said, he could say anything, and I would either have to believe it or totally deny it, because I totally don't understand politics. But it's just too much. But, you know, I'm proud to be in a free country. I'm glad I'm in a free country. A lot of people died, and, you know, they give me my freedom, and I think that's fantastic. It's awesome, and I think about it every day. But it gets around to times when there's debates and stuff, and I'm thinking, you know, this is important. I have to watch this. I have to learn this, and I'll be watching it for about 5 minutes, and I'll be thinking, oh, geez, it's just some guy saying whatever, and it's getting a biased angle from a different news company, and it's just going to do. It's like I said, it's a soft science. I can't trust really anything that I'm hearing until I know it. You know, I understand gravity pretty well. I know if I drop my keys, they'll definitely fall, and they'll usually fall somewhere where I don't want them to go. But when it comes to politics, I can't believe any of it. I have a real hard time. But I will watch, and I'll pay attention for about 5 minutes, and then my brain starts going back to all this crazy stuff that I've just been talking about, and it doesn't make any sense, and blah blah blah. But then you know, it just goes on, and you know, there's countries out there that people don't have their freedom to speak, and I understand this, and I feel terrible about that and everything. And you know, if they speak their minds and be killed or tortured and everything, then I just, you know, I'm thinking, boy, I should just really take advantage of this freedom thing and really pay attention and understand and you know, make my vote count and the whole works. And then I think, I wonder if Cops is on, and then I switch to Cops, and I'll watch that instead because I just don't get it. And then I started watching Cops because it made me feel better about myself first. You know, I'm like watching this stuff going, oh, what's this drunken guy gonna do? You know, it's gonna be some zany thing happening and everything. And also, I'm watching it one day and I'm thinking, you know, this guy went out and he's coming home or doing whatever, and he's out and about doing things for one, and then he gets chased by the cops, and he tries running. They get, you know, he crashes the car, gets out, starts running, the cops chasing him. They grab him, they drag him down, you know, they do everything they can to put him into the cuffs and just totally wail on him, and he keeps denying it wasn't me or whatever. And I'm thinking, how can people live like this? It's just crazy, you know. And then I think, well, you know, he's doing something. I'm just watching TV, you know. At least he's got something going on. And so now I watch it and I think, man, why don't I have that amount of energy? I don't fight for anything. You know, you can tell me something, I'll just believe it because I'm too lazy to argue it. But I don't know.